Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something really fundamental. It's the body's own communication system. You know, how it goes from these really quiet signals, maybe all the way up to a full-blown crisis.
That's right. It's a whole system.
And our mission today is to really unpack the material from Nzula Mercy. She's known as the Queen of Wellness. She gives this great framework, sort of a tiered system for decoding what your body's trying to tell you. We're not talking complex medical stuff here, more like the basic user manual, trying to catch things before that check engine light even flashes.
And what I find really interesting right off the bat is how the source frames the body. It's not seen as like this machine that just breaks down. Instead, it's positioned as a loyal friend, always trying to give you information you need.
A loyal friend. I like that framing.
Yeah, it completely changes how you think about symptoms, doesn't it?
It does. It makes it feel less like, oh, my body's betraying me, and more like, okay, it's trying harder because I didn't listen before. Okay, so let's get into this framework. Nzula Mercy breaks it down into 3 levels: whispers, warnings, and shouts. Simple enough. We should probably start where it all begins, and honestly, where it's easiest to just ignore things, the whispers. So this whispers stage, the source calls them gentle nudges. And if you're someone listening who, juggles a lot, heavy mental load, busy schedule, you're probably an expert at pushing past these. Because they seem minor, right? Not urgent.
Exactly, and that's the trap. Ignoring those whispers is probably the costliest mistake in the long run. The source is pretty clear. These whispers are your body stating really basic needs. Things like, you're tired, simple, or drink water, or just rest.
Okay, but what does that actually feel like? Not just the words.
Well, physically, it's subtle. It could be fatigue, but not like completely wiped out fatigue. More like a drag. Or that annoying brain fog where you can't quite recall a word or a name easily. Or maybe some mild bloating after you eat. Pretty consistently.
Right, the kind of stuff you just blame on a busy day or something you ate once.
Precisely. But here's the key insight from the material. Catching these signals early saves you so much energy down the line. It's like the source implies this exponential cost of ignoring things. Ignore whisper? Maybe you need 5 extra minutes to refocus later. But let that build up. The cost just skyrockets. Your body is basically saying, hey, running at 90%, just give me a little input now before I drop to 70%.
That difference between just normal tiredness from being busy and that specific whisper brain fog, that seems important. Does the source define that difference? How do you know it's a whisper?
Yeah, it defines it mostly by like how long it lasts and if you can interrupt it easily. So normal tiredness might lift with a coffee or switching tasks. But this whisper level fatigue or brain fog, it sticks around, doesn't really respond to the usual pick-me-ups. And crucially, it starts messing with your higher thinking abstract thought, making quick decisions. If you find yourself reading the same sentence over and over, that's probably a whisper. Your system needs something, likely water or just a short break.
Okay, so treating a whisper isn't being lazy. It's actually like a productivity investment, high return.
Absolutely.
But let's be real. We all do it. We ignore the fog. We push through the tiredness. What happens next when those gentle nudges are just silenced? What's level 2?
Then we get to the warnings. And what's really key here is that these aren't random. They are the body's very predictable response. It's proportional to how long the whispers were ignored. The system asked nicely, you didn't respond, so now it has to use a signal that's much harder to ignore, something that actually disrupts things.
Okay, now it gets really interesting, like you said, because these signals, they actually hurt or they're genuinely disruptive. What kind of examples does the source give for warnings?
They're pretty varied. They can be physical or psychological. Physically, think persistent aches and pains, like tension headaches that keep coming back. Or maybe a lower back ache that wasn't there before, or even sudden skin breakouts. Significant ones that aren't just a random pimple.
Okay, and psychologically?
That's often where things like mood swings come in. Sudden irritability or reacting way out of proportion to something small. And the material suggests these aren't just you having a bad day. They're often signs of a deeper imbalance. Maybe it's related to ongoing stress like high cortisol, or maybe your blood sugar's all over the place because you're not eating well. Essentially, your body is forcing a slowdown by making your internal state, volatile.
Okay, let me push back on the loyal friend idea here for a sec. If my body's my friend, why use a mood swing that could mess up my job or relationships? Isn't that kind of harsh? Shouldn't a friend intervene earlier?
But the source argues that the mood swing is the necessary intervention at that stage. The loyal friend did intervene earlier. That was the whisper, the suggestion to eat or rest or step away from the stress. The warning only becomes necessary because you, the user, basically prioritize something else over that gentle advice. So the warning is like an emergency brake. It's trying to prevent a total crash. The system shifted from just maintenance to active repair mode.
Okay, that makes sense. The escalation is a logical consequence. So when you're dealing with pain that keeps coming back or moods that derail your day, these are signs actively disrupting your life that demand attention, reactive attention. Now let's take it to the final stage. We ignore the warnings too. Maybe we take painkillers, maybe we just suppress the anxiety. Where does that lead?
Yeah, what happens then?
We hit the shouts. This is when both the nudge and the loud alarm have been completely ignored, maybe for a long time.
And the shout, according to Nzula Mercy, isn't just feeling bad. It's a state of chronic crisis. It's a major, deeply rooted health problem. The body is basically screaming, its resources are gone. This isn't just being tired anymore. This is potential system failure.
Wow. Okay. So what are the big outcomes listed in the source for this shout stage?
The source is very clear on three major consequences. And these things really change your life fundamentally. First, the development of chronic illness. Second, severe debilitating burnout, the kind that forces you to stop everything for weeks or months. And third, a persistently weak immune system. You're just constantly catching things, vulnerable.
That path from maybe a bit of brain fog to potentially chronic illness, it's pretty stark.
It really is.
It totally reframes self-care, doesn't it? It's not a luxury. It's like
Yeah.
essential risk management. The seriousness of the shout stage just highlights how incredibly important it is to catch those whispers way, way back at the beginning.
Okay, so if the path to trouble is this clear, tiered system, what does the source say we should do? How do we avoid getting to warnings or shouts? All right, let's talk solutions.
Yeah, let's shift gears. Enough about the problems. How do we maintain this loyal friend relationship? What's the actionable advice?
Well, the core idea from the source is almost deceptively simple. It's just listen early.
Mhm.
But the real value, I think, is how Nzula Mercy boils down all the foundational wellness advice into 5 really basic but powerful actions. These are the things you do proactively to keep the system running smoothly.
Okay, I'm ready. What are the 5?
They are the 5 essentials: rest, hydrate, nourish, move, and breathe. But we probably need to unpack what the source means by each one, because it's a bit deeper than just the single word suggests.
Definitely. Let's start with rest. In our culture, we're obsessed with doing more, optimizing. What does effective rest look like beyond just sleep?
Good question. According to the material, rest isn't just about how many hours you sleep. It's about the quality and the timing. Yes, it means having those non-negotiable sleep times. But it also includes micro-rests during the day, short breaks, moments of disengagement. She actually stresses that pushing through that, like 3 p.m. slump, isn't being tough. It's basically self-sabotage. The source suggests even 5 minutes of just intentionally doing nothing, not scrolling on your phone, just closing your eyes, can make a big difference in preventing a warning signal later.
5 minutes. Okay, that seems doable. What about hydrate? We all know we should drink water, but is there more to it?
Yeah, it's a bit more nuanced than just chugging water all day. The source talks about electrolytes and also timing. Hydration is critical for thinking clearly, Trustadia. Remember that brain fog whisper, often linked to dehydration. So the recommendation is to start your day with intentional hydration. Maybe water with a tiny pinch of good quality salt or some minerals. The idea is to specifically head off that afternoon mental dip before it starts.
Okay, proactive hydration. Got it. Next is nourish. Diets are so complicated. Does the source give specific rules, or is it more of a general approach?
It's much more foundational. The main goal of nourish, in this context, is stabilizing your blood sugar and minimizing inflammation.
Yeah.
Because that's the root of many of those whispers, like the bloating or even the mood instability we talked about. So nourish means eating whole foods consistently, things that give you steady energy, avoiding those big sugar spikes and crashes that trigger stress hormones. It's less about counting every calorie, more about giving that loyal friend reliable fuel.
And that connects directly back to the warnings, like the mood swings. Unstable fuel in, unstable emotions out. Makes sense. Okay, move. For a lot of people listening, that means trying to squeeze in a gym session. Is that the focus?
Not necessarily intensity. The focus for move here is consistency, breaking up long periods of being sedentary. The source isn't demanding like intense workouts every day. It's mandating that you break those sitting patterns. Even short bursts count. A brisk 10-minute walk at lunch, some stretching, anything. Movement is how the body clears out stress hormones and moves lymph fluid around. Just sitting still all day is basically asking for a warning signal.
Consistency over intensity. I like that. Okay, last one, breathe. This feels a bit vague, but maybe powerful.
Oh, absolutely powerful. The source points out that intentional breathing is probably the fastest way to tell your nervous system, hey, you're safe. Think about it when you're stressed, your breathing gets shallow, fast. By consciously changing that, using simple techniques, the source mentions box breathing, which is just inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. You can literally instantly shift your body out of that low-grade stress response. That stress response is what fuels the whole escalation from whisper to warning. So breathing gives you immediate leverage. It's maybe the quickest intervention.
That's actually really clear. It brings it all together. When you see the body's communication scaling up like that, whispers, warnings, shouts, and then you realize the fix isn't some magic bullet, but these 5 fundamental things: rest, hydrate, nourish, move, breathe. It changes how you see it. It's not an obstacle, it's just a system. And you maintain that relationship with your loyal friend by giving it what it needs consistently.
Mm.
So, wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for someone listening trying to manage everything?
I think the biggest takeaway connects right back to productivity. It's not about willpower pushing through pain. It's about smart system maintenance. Nzula Mercy's point is that the body's signals are always proportional to the neglect. Always. If you ignore the basics, the signal has to get louder. It's physics, almost. So real sustainable productivity comes from paying attention to those low-grade signals, the whispers, and responding appropriately.
Okay, so we've taken this deep dive. We've seen the tiered messaging, whispers, warnings, shouts. We know the signals get louder the less we listen. And we know the key to staying in that whisper zone, preventing the bigger issues, lies in those 5 core actions: rest, hydrate, nourish, move, and breathe.
Exactly. So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is this. Just check in right now. What's one subtle whisper your body might be sending? Maybe it's that shoulder tightness you just rub absent-mindedly,
Yeah.
or that little flutter of anxiety before certain calls, something you usually dismiss as just noise. What if you treated that signal not as an annoyance, but as vital information, information that requires one of those 5 simple inputs: rest, hydrate, nourish, move, or breathe?
Okay.
How much energy could you save long-term by addressing it now? Answering that question for yourself, that's your starting point.